It's time to make it, just give it a try. 'Cause you can make it like the old fat guy.
Welcome to this episode of You Can Make It with David Farrell. I'm the old fat guy. Today we have something really different. We have a collaboration that's been set up by a great group on YouTube called Kitchen Queers. I encourage you to look up their YouTube channel. It's very entertaining with great recipes. However, they've started a collaboration they are calling the Fireworks of Food 2020. So what they're doing is getting people to cook something for July the 4th in the United States. Well, I'm Canadian, so I don't celebrate July the 4th. I celebrate July the 1st, Canada Day. And as usual, Canadians are just a little bit ahead of our American friends. So I decided I'd celebrate Fireworks of Food 2020 with a Canadian barbecue. But what makes Canadian food? The more I thought about it, what makes Canadian food is that we will steal a good dish from any country in the world shamelessly. We love all the different varieties of food. Whether it's tourtière in Quebec with a French influence, or our native influence with bannock and salmon and wild game in the north, or wonderful Asian foods from Chinatown in Vancouver, or Italian foods from Toronto, or even the great lobster from the East Coast. We love it all. So I decided I want to do something with an international flavor for Fireworks of Food 2020. So I'm going to make a Cuban chicken because July 1st Canada Day and July 4th in the States, to me, is about barbecue. So I'm going to barbecue a chicken on the grill, and it's going to be a Cuban chicken. I'll start by apologizing. This is my imitation of Cuban chicken. I'm using ingredients that I can get easily and substituting for them, but I'm using that great Cuban spice and citrus profile just to give it the flavor profile of a Cuban dish. So let's get into making some Cuban chicken. And to start off, I'm going to make something called Cezanne. The French have herbes de Provence, Mexican have their own chili spices, and you'll have many different flavor blends, but the Cubans make Cezanne, which is just a seasoning mixing with flavors, and it varies by whoever makes it. For my Cezanne, I'm going to mix together some pretty typical Cuban flavors, and it should be close to their profile. And what I have here are 7.5 milliliters or 1.5 teaspoon of garlic. I have 4 milliliters or 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, 4 milliliters or 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt, 4 milliliters or 3/4 of a teaspoon of dried oregano, 2.5 milliliters or 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. I have 2.5 milliliters of ground cumin or 1/2 teaspoon. I have 2.5 milliliters of turmeric or 1/2 teaspoon, and 1.5 milliliters or 1/3 of a teaspoon of dried parsley. And I'm just going to put all those ingredients into a bowl. And we're going to mix those together. And now this will make more than you need for the recipe, but keep it around. It's great sprinkled on cooked chicken. It's great sprinkled on pork. You can put it on a pork chop as a rub before you cook it. It's just a really handy, nice flavoring to have around. Use it just to sprinkle on food. I think you'll find it very tasty. So now there we have our Cezanne made up, and we'll just set it aside. The next thing we're going to make up is a marinade for our chicken. And what I have in this bowl is 15 milliliters of honey. And to it I'm going to add, that's a tablespoon of honey. And to it I'm going to add 25 milliliters or 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 15 milliliters or 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and 15 milliliters or 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil or canola oil, any neutral oil you have on hand. And I'm just going to stir that up until the honey is dissolved. And that will take a while. Honey likes to thicken up And if you want to hurry it up, you can throw it in the microwave for 30 seconds and the honey will soften up. But I find if you just are a little patient, the honey will eventually dissolve in the marinade. We're getting pretty close. There we go. So we have a marinade and we have our Cezanne. The next thing we have to do is get our chicken ready. And when I grill a chicken, I like to spatchcock it. I just find it cooks better. And spatchcocking is cutting it up so that it lays flat. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's just set our marinade and our seasonings aside and bring in here, I have about a 2.5 pound frying chicken. You can go down to 2 pounds or up to 3 pounds, just whatever you can find in the store. And to spatchcock, what you're going to do is remove this backbone and the breastbone so that it lies flat. Now the easiest way to remove the backbone is with a pair of poultry shears. Just put them beside it and just cut through the bones on either side of the backbone. And if it gets sick, just give her a squeeze. There we go. So there's one cut, and then we're going to go down the other side of the backbone. Now, do not throw the backbone out. I save these until I get several of them, and then I make soup stock out of them. But now that I've taken the backbone out, you'll see right here there's a breastbone that's sort of triangular shaped. And you want to take a sharp knife and just sort of work it down under that bone. Do not cut through the skin on the other side though. Just cut down both sides under that triangular bone. And then take your poultry shears and snip underneath that cut to take that breastbone out. And once you get through to the big bone, just cut through it and then cut down either side of that big bone and the breastbone will come right out. Just like that. And guess what? I saved that for making stock with too. So you see, now your chicken lies flat. And it will cook better because it's not up in a big ball and the heat can get to all surfaces on it. What we're going to do now is season the chicken. And I'm just going to wash my hands because I'm going to be going in my knife drawer and I don't want to contaminate it with chicken juice. Now, chicken is a source of salmonella, which is quite a dangerous disease. So you want to make sure that none of this bowl of spices comes in contact with the chicken or you'll have to throw it out because it might have salmonella in it. So what we'll do is we'll start with the breasts. And if you look at the top of the breast here, the skin comes off pretty easily. And you just want to work your finger under the skin of the breast and just separate to make a little pocket. And you're going to want to put about 1 milliliter or a little over 1/4 teaspoon of the seasoning. Now notice the spoon never touched the chicken. And then I'm going to work my finger to spread that spices around under the skin. The same thing will be done on the other side of the chicken. So now that we've got the breast seasoned under the skin, you'll see that there's a big piece of thigh meat there. And once again, you just want to work your finger under the skin of that thigh meat and put a little over 1 milliliter or 1/4 teaspoon of the Cezanne and spread that around. That lets the flavor get right into the meat, and we'll do the other side. And there we go. So it's all seasoned under the skin. Now we want to put a layer of the Cezanne on top of the chicken. It will then be put in a marinade and some of that will wash off, but it adds to the flavor of the marinade. So I'm going to go wash my hands because I now want to put my fingers in that Cezanne. So we'll just sprinkle, hold it up high, and sprinkle a good amount of the Cezanne over all surfaces of the chicken. Just a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons, just enough to give it a good coating. There we go. So, now that we've got the Cezanne spread on the chicken, we want to put it in the marinade. And what I generally do is get a plastic bag. And I just take the chicken and fold it in half and put it inside the plastic bag and then unfold it so that it lies flat in the bag, just like that. And when I've done that, I take my mixed up marinade and I lift the bag up and just pour the marinade over the chicken. Now, then I just seal the bag up. I'm going to use a twist tie just because my hands are slimy and it's hard to grip that. So we'll put a twist tie on it. Now, this has to go in the fridge where it sits for 3 hours. And every once in a while, I'll just flip it so that the marinade rubs into all the surfaces. But I didn't want you hanging around for 3 hours, so I've already marinated one for 3 hours, and I'll just get this out of the way. And this spatchcock bird had sat in the marinade for 3 hours. Now, once again, I've been touching raw chicken. I'm going to be using my fingers on the Cezanne. Wash your hands. And once again, you want to put your last layer of Cezanne on because some of it will have washed off with the marinade. So just give it another good sprinkling with a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons full of the Cezanne seasoning. Just give it its last coating. And this is ready to go out on my barbecue. So let's take her out and I'll show you how I set up my barbecue to cook a spatchcock chicken with Cuban Cezanne. My chicken marinated for 3 hours in the fridge. I put another layer of Cezanne on it. Now's the time to cook it. What I've done is I've preheated my grill, my barbecue grill, to indirect heat at 350. And I do that by not lighting all the burners. My barbecue has 3 burners across. I just lit the back one and put it on high, which gets the temperature in here at about 350 degrees. If you have a barbecue with 2 burners, just don't light one, turn the other one on, and adjust it until you get about 350 degrees on your thermometer. 325 to 375 is fine. You don't have to be exact. So I've got it at 350. The burner's back there. I want to make sure the chicken is not over a lit burner. That's what indirect heat means. So I'm just going to slide it down on this part of the grill, which is not over the burner. And we're going to take an hour to an hour and a half to cook, depending on how your barbecue heats up and the size of the bird. So we'll check it about every half an hour, because if it starts to over brown in any part, you can cover that part with foil to protect it. So I'll see you when the chicken is coming off. The chicken's been on my grill for an hour and a half. I checked it about every 30 minutes or so and every 50 minutes the last half hour. What you want to do is look at it to make sure it doesn't over brown. So I actually turned this chicken 180 degrees because it was browning more on the flame side, just to get an even browning. And then I check the temperature and make sure that it's over 170 degrees in these breasts. And I do check in a couple of other places too, just to make sure that I'm not going to be undercooking any chicken on behalf of my guests. Anything over 165 is safe, but I prefer 170 or more. Now, you note I cooked this on a barbecue grill over indirect to heat. It can just as easily be done in a 350 degree oven, just put it on a tray, or in your smoker at 350 degrees. They all work fine. But this is done. It's got a beautiful brown color. Let's take it off the grill and take it inside and let it rest for about 10 minutes, and then we will cut it up. Oh, look at that. Doesn't want to come in. There we go. I've brought the chicken in from the grill. It's got a wonderful color. Nice browning on it. The skin is nice and crisp. Just look at that. But now we have to cut it up to service. Now to serve a spatchcock chicken, I like to cut it into segments. And I start with the wings. And if you just put a tip of a knife in to find the joint between the wing and the body, and then just cut it through it, there you go, is a nice wing piece. And then we'll just do the other wing the same way. there's a second wing. Now, the drumsticks are usually what I cut next. Again, just stick a knife through the skin and look for a joint. There it is right there. Just get your knife through it. Cut it off. There's a nice drumstick. Second drumstick. Now, I cut the thighs off next, and there's a natural line right there between the breast and the thigh. So there's one thigh. And there is the second thigh. Then take the two breast halves and cut between them. There we go. Take that piece of bone out. Now, I find the breasts pretty big, so I like to cut them in half across as well. There we go. And then across this one. Let's put the skin back over for appearances. And we have a cut up, ready to serve Cuban chicken. Now that the chicken's all cut up, we can do the best part in preparation for our Fireworks of Food 2020, which is to taste my Cuban chicken. I can just hardly wait. So we'll just take a piece of the chicken here, give it a bite. I might have to move to Cuba. The spices have such great complexity to it. The touch of cumin, the garlic, the onion, it just really bursts in your mouth when you bite into it. The skin has got a nice chew and is well browned. It is absolutely a delicious dish, and I'm going to look forward to having this on July the 1st. Now, I gave you a little bit of a joke at the beginning, Canadian, hey, with July 1st or July 4th. I can tell you that we love our July 1st holiday, but we also love our American friends. And one of the worst things about the current hard times is we can't go visit you in the States, and we can't have you up here so we can entertain you. I only hope that this July 4th finds you prosperous, and for my Canadian friends, help me celebrate Canada. It's going to be a great July 1st. If you want to see more videos about what to make for Fireworks of Food 2020, put that hashtag in and do a search on YouTube, and you'll find everybody who's entered the collaboration, and you'll be able to see their product. In the meantime, if you want to try Cuban chicken, you can make it.
I have a good woman. I ain't good looking, but I do some cooking. I'm the old fat guy. So use that oven if you want some lovin'. Be like the old fat guy. Be like the old fat guy.